Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
My phone buzzed an hour after I clicked not attending. Hey man, everything okay? It was from Adam, my younger brother, the one getting married, the one who decided that my stepson, didn't make the cut for his elegant, adult-only wedding. My name's Tom Becker. I'm 47. I teach history at a public high school in Kingston, New York. I've been raising Ryan since he was 5 years old. He's 17 now. I was standing at the kitchen counter when the invitation came. One of those high-end ones with thick cardstock, gold trim, and a wax seal like a medieval decree. I cracked it open with a knife and read it. Adults only, 21 and over. Strictly enforced, no exceptions. Ryan was on the couch with his sketch pad, halfway through designing another logo for his dream t-shirt brand. I read the line out loud. He looked up slowly. So, I'm not invited. I didn't sugarcoat it. They made it adults only. He nodded, eyes drifting back to the page. But I saw it in his face. That flicker of something. Not shock, not exactly. More like confirmation. I didn't say anything more, didn't call Adam, didn't argue with my parents. I just went back to the RSVP link, clicked not attending, and shut the laptop. That was it, or at least it should have been. Then came Adam's text. Hey man, everything okay? I stared at it for a second. That was the thing about my brother. He was always acting like nothing was personal, even when it absolutely was. So I wrote back. Ryan wasn't invited. I'm not going without him. He answered within a minute. Oh yeah, sorry if that came off harsh. We're just trying to be consistent, you know? Keep it all 21 plus across the board. I could practically hear his voice. Casual, polished, always ready with an excuse. But I knew the truth. This wasn't about consistency. Ryan wasn't wanted there, not in the pictures, not in the speeches, not at the table, and I was done pretending otherwise. So I put my phone face down on the counter, walked back into the living room, and sat next to my son. What do you think of this one? He asked, turning the pad toward me. The design was clean, sharp, a bold, simple circle enclosing the words, first draft. I smiled. Looks like a brand already. He shrugged. I don't know. Maybe I'll tweak the font. And just like that, we went back to normal. No fighting, no sulking, no explanations needed. Because Ryan had learned a long time ago not to expect invitations. And I had finally learned how to respond when he didn't get one, by standing next to him, not walking through the door that wouldn't open for him. Not this time. Ryan's always been a quiet kid. Not shy, just watchful. The kind of kid who'd rather sit on the edge of the crowd and sketch what he sees than jump into the middle of it. I don't know if he was always like that or if it started after his dad left. But I've known him since he was 5, and that's how he's always been with me. The first time he called me Dad was by accident. We were watching one of those dumb cooking competition shows, and he pointed to a contestant and said, "He burns stuff like you do, Dad." Then his face froze. He looked up at me, eyes wide. "Sorry," he mumbled. I remember my heart just cracked open. "It's okay," I told him. "You can call me whatever feels right." He nodded and went back to his popcorn. But after that, it stuck. Still, to my family, he was never really my son. My mom always referred to him as Tom's stepson, never our grandson, never just Ryan. It was always a technicality, like a disclaimer at the end of a commercial. And it wasn't just her. At family dinners, the other kids, the real grandkids, got greeted with hugs and teasing and laughter. Ryan got a nod, a polite smile. There was that one Easter, maybe 5 years ago. My sister Carla organized a big egg hunt in her backyard. Every kid had a basket with their name on it, ribbons and all. Ryan's basket was different. No name, just a plain one with a generic Happy Spring tag. I noticed right away. Ryan saw it too, but he didn't say anything. He just smiled like he always did and went along with it. Later in the car, I asked him if he was okay. He said, "Yeah, it's just a basket." But it wasn't. It was one of 1,000 little reminders. Then there was the drawing. He was 12. He spent a week sketching this beautiful portrait of our family. Me, Beth, him, and our dog Max. He framed it himself and gave it to my mom for Christmas. She smiled, said, "Oh, how nice," and set it on the side table. That was it. She never hung it up, never asked about it again. A couple years later, I saw it in the hall closet behind a stack of wrapping paper. I never told Ryan. I wish I could say I did more. that I stood up for him every time. But I didn't. I kept thinking maybe they'd come around. That if I kept bringing him to dinners and birthdays and holidays, they'd start seeing him the way I did, as my son. But they didn't. And over time, I watched Ryan start to shrink himself. He stopped making jokes at the table, stopped asking to bring his sketch pad, stopped trying. I didn't even realize it at first. I just noticed one day that he didn't look up when someone asked him how school was going. He just nodded and said, "Fine," and kept his eyes on his plate. That's when I understood. He wasn't angry. He was used to it. He had figured out that being quiet hurt less than being ignored. And that's what killed me the most. Not the way they treated him, but how good he got at pretending he didn't care. I should have stopped dragging him to those dinners. I should have stopped making excuses for people who never tried. Instead, I hoped. And while I was hoping, Ryan was learning how to disappear, all by himself. The morning after I RSVP'd no, Adam texted me like nothing happened. "Hope you understand, man. Just trying to be consistent. Nothing personal." Consistent. That was the word he chose. Not thoughtful, not respectful. Just consistent. I stared at my phone, waiting for something else. Maybe. I didn't think it through. But nothing else came. Then a few hours later, the group chat lit up. Carla. "Really? Over one rule?" Mom. "It's one evening, Tom. Don't punish Adam for a policy." Punish. That was how they saw it. Like I was grounding Adam by not showing up. Like I was withholding something from him, not protecting Ryan. I replied once. Just once. Me. Ryan wasn't invited. I'm not going without him. There was a pause, a long one. I could almost feel the silence on the screen. Then came my mom's message. "Mom, he's family." That was it. 2 words. Like they fixed everything. But if he were family, he would have been included from the start. If he were family, his name would have been on an invitation. If he were family, I wouldn't be the only one noticing how he gets left out. The excuses kept rolling in, like a parade of polite deflections. "He's almost 18, Tom. It's just a wedding. We can't bend the rules for everyone. Plenty of people are leaving their kids at home. They just wanted peace. As long as it didn't inconvenience them." No one asked how Ryan felt. No one checked in with Beth. No one said, "Hey, we messed up." Because that would mean admitting something had been wrong for years. Instead, they acted like I was the one causing a scene, like I was blowing it out of proportion. Like I was making things uncomfortable. They wanted the event to stay smooth, pretty, unbothered by a kid they never fully made room for. But what they didn't realize was that this wasn't just about the wedding. This was years in the making. The basket with no name, the drawing stuffed in a closet, the greetings that stopped at nods, and now a wedding where he didn't fit the policy. I saw it clearly for the first time. I had spent so long waiting for them to see Ryan as I saw him, as someone worth showing up for. But all they saw was the rule I was breaking, the comfort I was disrupting. And in the group chat, I became the villain. Not Adam for excluding him, not Carla for mocking me, not my mom for pretending everything was fine. Me. Because I said no. Because I made a choice. Because I drew a line they didn't want to look at. So I muted the chat. Let them argue with themselves. Because I wasn't explaining myself anymore, I was protecting my son. And if that made me the villain in their story, so be it. For the past 10 years, Christmas was always at our house. Every December, like clockwork, I dragged the folding chairs out of the basement, buy 2 kinds of cider because Mom liked hot and Carla liked cold, and stock the fridge with Adam's favorite beer, even though he never finished more than 2. I cooked the roast. Beth made her bourbon pecan pie. Ryan would hang the lights along the porch even though he pretended to hate it. And every year, they all came. Every year, Ryan watched from the edges. This year, I didn't do any of it. No email thread. No group text asking who was bringing what. No Costco run for extra napkins. No clearing out the fridge for leftovers. I didn't say anything. I just didn't start it. Beth didn't ask. She knew. Ryan didn't ask either. He just noticed I hadn't brought the chairs up. Mid-December, the text started anyway. Carla. What should I bring for dinner? Ring. Adam. We'll be 5. Let us know what Ryan wants. That one nearly made me snap. Let us know what Ryan wants. Like he was a side dish. Like including him now was some thoughtful gesture. I didn't reply. A couple days later, my dad left a voicemail. Tom, it's not too late to do the right thing. The right thing. Like I'd lost my way. Like they were the map. So I let the silence carry the message. No tree in the front window, no wreath, no parking instructions for the cousins. I didn't host, and no one else stepped up. That silence was louder than anything they could have said. On Christmas morning, Beth and I got up late. Ryan made coffee. We stayed in our pajamas until noon. No one knocked. No one called to say, "Wait, are we still doing it at your place?" Because deep down they knew. They just didn't want to say it out loud. They had spent years telling me to keep the peace, to not make things difficult, to stop making it about Ryan. But this time I didn't invite them into my home. And the quiet that followed, it wasn't cold. It was honest. The noise stopped. The pretending stopped. And in that space, something new showed up. A kind of peace I didn't know I'd been missing. The kind that doesn't come with matching napkins or polite small talk. The kind that only comes when you stop pretending people haven't hurt you. I didn't need apologies. I needed space. And that Christmas, I finally made room for it. Christmas Day came, and for the first time in a long time, it was just the three of us. Me, Beth, and Ryan. No guests, no chaos, no casseroles we didn't ask for. Ryan woke up late, hair sticking up in every direction. Beth stayed in flannel pants and fuzzy socks all day. I didn't shave. We didn't do the whole big breakfast thing. Just coffee, leftover lasagna, and sugar cookies shaped like snow boots, and birds with cartoonishly big heads. Ryan had made the cookie cutters himself with some flimsy aluminum strips and a glue gun. They looked ridiculous. But we laughed. We laughed so hard we had to take breaks while decorating them. Beth put eyes on every cookie, even the ones that weren't supposed to have eyes. Ryan said it made them feel seen. There were no tense pauses, no under-the-breath comments about my parenting, no strained hugs from people who barely tolerated each other, just ease. In the afternoon, we watched one of those terrible action movies with explosions every 5 seconds and a plot that made no sense. Ryan kept pointing out the continuity errors like he was doing commentary for a DVD extra. At some point, we pulled out the poker set and played for jelly beans. Ryan cleaned us out. Every time he won a hand, he made us hand over the jelly beans one by one while humming the Jeopardy theme. Beth called him a tyrant. He bowed like a villain in a stage play. And then out of nowhere, as we were sweeping up the last of the cookie crumbs, Ryan looked around the living room and said, "This is the best Christmas I can remember." He didn't say it for effect. He said it like a fact. I didn't know what to say, but I didn't need to. I looked at Beth, and she looked at me. Her eyes were soft, damp at the corners. She smiled. Not the polite kind, not the forced holiday kind, but the kind that says, "This is right." There were no presents stacked under the tree, no big speeches, no matching pajamas, but there was something else. There was quiet joy, the kind that doesn't need to be photographed, the kind you don't have to explain, the kind that makes you realize maybe you don't miss the noise after all. Maybe you were only pretending to enjoy it because it's what you were supposed to do. And now that it's gone, all you feel is relief. Later that night, Ryan disappeared into his room and came back with a sketch he'd made that morning. It was the three of us sitting on the couch, laughing. Beth's head tilted back mid-laugh, me holding a mug, Ryan surrounded by a pile of jelly beans. He handed it to me and said, "Merry Christmas." I didn't frame it. Not yet. I left it on the mantel, right where we'd see it every time we passed through the room. Because sometimes joy doesn't need to be preserved. Sometimes it just needs to be noticed. And this time, we all did. It was a few days after Christmas. The snow hadn't let up all week, just kept dusting the backyard like powdered sugar. Ryan was on the floor, half sitting, half sprawled, sketch pad propped on one knee. I was folding laundry on the couch, stacking towels and trying to ignore the fact that I still hadn't returned anyone's calls. He didn't look up when he said it. "Do you think they'd like me better if I was your real kid?" It hit me like a punch I didn't see coming. My hands froze around a bath towel. I looked at him. He was still drawing, eyes fixed on the page like it didn't matter, like it was just a casual question. It wasn't. I sat down, slowly. I didn't rush to answer. Because what do you say to something like that? I wanted to tell him no, absolutely not, don't be ridiculous. But that would have been a lie. So I told him the truth. "They might have pretended better," I said quietly. But their problem's not with you. He nodded, like he already knew. Like he'd asked to confirm something he'd been carrying for years. I don't think I want them to like me anymore, he said. He didn't say it with bitterness. There was no edge in his voice, just clarity, like someone who'd been waiting for a door to open and finally realized it wasn't locked. It was just never meant for him. I wanted to hug him. I wanted to fix it. But he wasn't asking for comfort. He was telling me something. He wasn't hurt anymore. He was done waiting. I watched him go back to his sketch like the conversation was over. And it was. Because what else was there to say? He'd made peace with the truth long before I did. He wasn't asking for pity. He was setting himself free. And for the first time, I saw it clearly. Ryan wasn't the one who needed to be defended. He had figured it out. It was me who had been clinging to the hope that they'd come around. I was the one still wishing they'd wake up one day and see him the way I did. But Ryan, he'd let go. He'd stopped waiting for permission to walk away from people who couldn't see him. He was already gone, and all I could do was catch up. A few days after New Year's, I got a text from my dad. Dad, your mother isn't sleeping. You've shut us out. That's not you. I stared at it for a while. That's not you. I'd heard that phrase my whole life. Anytime I spoke up. Anytime I made things uncomfortable. That's not you. What they really meant was, that's not the version of you we prefer. The version who kept quiet. The version who kept showing up. Even when his kid was left out. Even when the smiles at family dinners didn't include the boy sitting next to him. I didn't reply. Then, later that night, Adam sent a voice memo. I knew it was a voice memo before I played it. He always saved the heavy stuff for voice notes. Couldn't be misread that way. I listened. His voice was smooth, deliberate, practiced. Tom, I just wanted to say it really sucks that you took this path. You always made such a fuss about Ryan. I get it, you love the kid. But now it feels like you're using him to make a point. That's not healthy. You need to let this go. I deleted it before it finished. Blocked his number. I didn't want to hear his voice in my house. Not anymore. Because here's what Adam, and all of them, still didn't understand. Loving Ryan isn't a tactic. It's not a way to win an argument. It's not leverage in a family power struggle. It's just love. It's showing up for someone, over and over, until they stop questioning whether you will. It's protecting a kid who never asked for protection, but learned early on not to expect it. They saw obsession. They called it overreacting. They saw my boundaries as drama. Because real love, the inconvenient kind, the kind that holds people accountable, makes people uncomfortable. They wanted me to keep the peace. But peace that asks you to abandon your child isn't peace. It's surrender. And I wasn't doing that anymore. So I let the silence grow. Didn't send a holiday thank you. Didn't reply to the guilt text or the voicemail about how we miss your energy. I stopped dancing around what they were unwilling to say. I let the silence speak for me. It said, you drew the line. I just stopped crossing it. It said, if my son isn't welcome, then neither am I. It said, I'm not waiting to be invited back to a table where he was never given a seat. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. I felt like a father. New Year's Eve came and went quietly. No fireworks, no family texts, no countdown calls, just us. Beth made a late dinner, nothing fancy. Pasta with way too much garlic bread with even more. Ryan said it was criminally aggressive, and we all laughed like idiots. At midnight, we didn't even notice the time until Beth glanced at the microwave clock and said, "Oh, Happy New Year." We were sitting on the floor trying to untangle the new board game Ryan got for Christmas. It was some glitchy indie card game that barely worked. The rules contradicted themselves. The cards were misprinted, but we played it anyway. And we laughed. Laughed every time someone tried to make sense of a card that said, draw 2 unless you roll a 5, which reverses the previous effect unless your socks match. Ryan called it chaos in a box. We played for hours. There was no pressure to make it magical. No fuss. No forced cheer. Just a quiet kind of joy that didn't need to be documented or explained. Beth brought out a bottle of sparkling apple cider around 11. We poured it into mismatched mugs because we hadn't run the dishwasher. We clinked them together. To no expectations, I said. Ryan grinned. To rules that make sense. Beth raised an eyebrow. To chaos in a box. We drank, and I realized something I hadn't let myself believe until then. I didn't miss it. Not the big family countdowns. Not the staged group photos. Not the texts from people who never saw Ryan for who he was, but suddenly remembered him when it was time to send a card. I didn't check my phone once that night. Not out of protest, but because I wasn't waiting anymore. I wasn't wondering if they'd finally get it. I wasn't hoping for an apology wrapped in a resolution. I was done explaining, done justifying, done shrinking our joy to fit into their version of what a family should look like. New year, new rule. No one gets to define our family except us. And if that means fewer seats at the table, so be it. Because the ones left, they're the ones that matter. A week into January, I went to grab milk from the fridge and saw it. Ryan had taped one of his sketches to the freezer door. It was us. Just the three of us. Me, Beth, and Ryan, sitting at the kitchen table in our pajamas. Beth was laughing, mid-eye roll. I was holding a coffee mug that said, "World's okayest dad." Ryan had his hoodie half off, a jelly bean in his mouth, and a ridiculous grin on his face. Above us, in his messy block-letter handwriting, he'd written one word. Family, no asterisk, no disclaimer, no step or sort of or technically. Just family. I stood there staring at it, one hand still on the fridge handle. It was so simple, so quiet, but it hit harder than anything they ever said. All those years I'd spent trying to build a bridge, making sure we showed up to the birthdays, the holidays, the weddings, hoping that if we kept crossing over, they'd finally meet us halfway. They never did. And now I realize something. I shouldn't have been looking outward, trying to earn a seat at a table that never made room for my son. I should have been looking right here, in this house, at this table, at this kid who had no reason to still believe in love, and did anyway. We weren't missing anything. We were just done pretending. No more begging to be acknowledged. No more hoping they'd wake up and get it. No more handing out invitations to people who never showed up for us. This was it. This was our family. And it was enough. I didn't take the sketch down. I didn't frame it or try to preserve it. I just let it live there, on the fridge, between a crumpled pizza coupon and a reminder to buy more oat milk. Because that's where real love lives. Not in grand gestures, but in everyday corners. And for the first time, we weren't reaching anymore. We were home.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.